Hey Capricorn, so let's have a look at your relationships and connections then in this particular forecast, taking you from the 28th of February, right the way through to the total lunar eclipse in Virgo on the 14th of March. So I'm going to be looking in particular at romantic partnerships and intimacy, a little bit around your friendship and social circles, and also family dynamics. So anything to help facilitate them, deepen them, how to meet each other's needs, how to co-create a little bit more effectively during this time. So let's have a look at the charts. So yeah, in understanding this, what I really want to convey, I guess, is talk more about the rulers of the houses that have to do with love and affection, and all the people in your life. Now, for you, the seventh house is really ruled by your moon, and currently you've got Mars in it. So I'll be talking about that for sure. The fifth house is worth paying some attention to, because that's where I think we generate the desire to connect physically, in intimacy, and to enjoy really fulfilling sexual connections. It's a place that we're birthing new realities from, so it's a place where we are really trying to get into joy and lift ourselves up. The eighth house also has something to do with intimacy, in particular physical intimacy, but I would also say psychological intimacy as well. There's a lot of trust that needs to be built here. So, we're talking about Venus, the ruler of your fifth, the moon, the sun, the ruler of your eighth, and obviously your own ruler, which is Saturn. Now, it just so happens, as luck would have it, that the moon, the sun, and Saturn are all in a relationship with Mars right now in the seventh house. So this seems really quite, beneficial right from the get-go. Not only is there this new moon in Pisces, which I think is really helping. By the way, it's really helping your connections in the local community in terms of new friendships and that feeling of having a tribe around you, that there is a sense of great familiarity. I think this is a really good time to forge new ideas about how often, how frequently, how deeply you want to connect with the people around you, and how much more fun can you have. You might want to ask yourself the question, like, how does it get any better than this, which is one of my favorite questions that I learned from a friend. So this new moon in Pisces is really, really quite positive. Now, the fact that the new moon is connecting to Mars at the time of this, as we're coming into this 2-week forecast, is great. Mars is now going direct. It's in the seventh house, so Mars is powering on. In fact, to me, it feels like you're really ready to experience a new level of engagement with the people in your life. To me, it feels like you're ready for them to really step into the relationship a lot more. So it's going to be a lot more dynamic. I really do think you're going to be able to socialize a lot more with your nearest and dearest in places that are familiar to you. Now, the sun in this lovely trine to Mars as well is encouraging you to keep on it, not to give up. It's really, I think, giving you a sense of courage and bravery to confront the parts of relationships that you sometimes don't get to. So, for instance, the sun is the ruler of your eighth house. So it has a lot of the inner psychology of what happens with other people's values, shared value systems, i.e. things that exist between you and the other person. The bit in between is where the sun gets in. So the sun is here. The sun is a conduit for you to explore your inner psychology and to let go of some things that are keeping you distanced from each other. And this trine is giving you the courage to clear things up. I think this is wonderful. I think it's really helpful. And given that Mars is a sexual planet as well, not only can you clear things up and get more into congruence together, but, as things clear up, it's also clearing the channels for you to connect sexually, connect in a more intimate way. So yeah, no complaints from me. Looking at this, I just think this is fantastic. Now, the fact that both the sun and the moon are going to be connecting to Saturn, your ruler, during this period of time, I think is really beneficial. And Saturn himself is nestled in quite an interesting space. Mercury is right on him. So there's a lot of communication about depth and meaning and connection, and how you can have a stronger structure. The fact that Saturn is so close to the North Node and also to Neptune, I think is an indication that there is a desire for something so much more fulfilling, and something that takes you in a whole new trajectory, maybe one that Capricorns don't often care to explore, something a bit more spiritual, something a little bit more out there, that's hard to quantify. And yet right now it feels like there are the building blocks of a spiritual sort of tantric connection coming forwards. And, hold that thought, because, from February the 14th next year, these two are going to be right on the cusp here, in between your third and fourth house. I really think you can be embedding a much more soulful love style come 2026. So yeah, these are interesting times. And then Saturn, your ruler, in a trine to Mars as well. It's just really supporting it. So it's all good. It's really, really good. Now, in terms of your actual networks, your more sort of career-based networks, Pluto, I think, yeah, I mean, Pluto in your second house, I think there are sort of powerful people coming in and helping you to earn more money. So I do think there are lots of sort of powerful connections coming in particular ones which are getting you to transform and be a bit more creative. But I think I'll pick up on that in the actual career and ambition reading. So what I want to do now is just to move on to the family dynamics. What's really showing up in terms of family dynamics. I mean, you've had Chiron in this part of your chart for quite a while, and that will have made all wounds at home really visible. And there's still some work going on with that. Chiron's going to be here until midway through 2026. I believe that's when he moves over. But Venus in your fourth house is kind of promising that it's time to come into gentleness at home and with the family, and to connect a bit more. And yet at the start of this reading, she's going retrograde and back here. She's moving towards Saturn. She's really trying to connect with Saturn. She's all the way back to connect with Saturn before she moves forwards again. So I actually think for all of your desires to have peace at home right now, and to find a balance between your needs and the needs of the people around you, I really think it's an inward journey, but one of reverence and one of coming back into yourself. The journey that Venus is making, it's almost like a pilgrimage. I don't know how else to describe it. Saturn, for all of his, bad reputation and stuff, he can sometimes show an elder, he can show the father, he can show God, he can show, where you might seek the company of older people that might have the answers. So I really get this feeling that maybe some of the answers that you're looking for have something to do, that come from somebody who's older, who is an elder within your family. So I don't know if it's your parents, or aunties and uncles, or, somebody from a generation above you, or, somebody who understands that generation. I think there's somebody that connects you to the past, that can help you understand your history more effectively. I think, it's really easy just to see life around us and think this is how it's always been. Like in my lifetime, when I think about the sort of technology we didn't have when I was young, my kids could not conceive of that now. And I think there is something to do with the longevity of time and families that really needs to come up, and to understand each other's stories. And actually, that's where I want to come to right at the end of this. The sun, the moon, Saturn, Mercury, Neptune, and the North Node are all nestled in this space as we come into this 2-week period, this waxing moon phase. And the third house, yes, it's social, and yes, it's about your environment. It's about a sense of belonging. And so maybe you are making a trip back to feel that you're belonging again in your family. but it's also a place of stories. It's a place of our rich history of stories. And so I think it's time for you to hear some more of those stories, or even start telling them to the next generation down, to keep the stories alive, so you can see how your family has developed and grown and changed. And I think that's all that's needed to get back into that alignment. And that also could really help with the hurts that present themselves as they present themselves. So yeah, good for you. I think whatever family healing has been going on, the rest of the healing, that is needed right now is served through stories. It's served through understanding each other. So I hope that's helpful for you in understanding some of the love, connection, and family dynamics. And I hope you have a fantastic couple of weeks ahead. Lots of love.